the Cuff. Now, here's your host, Adam Banks.
Welcome, everybody, to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks, broadcasting from Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for tuning in to WLXU 93.9 FM. In addition to listening to us on the radio, you can check out our Facebook live stream at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks, or you can download the Radio Lex app to listen to us anywhere in the entire world. Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. From here at Off the Cuff, from all of us here at Off the Cuff, Amber Turner is broadcasting from her home, and I'm broadcasting from the WLXU studios. Amber, I have to tell you again and scream it from the mountaintop, Merry Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas Eve!
It's finally here. We have been counting down the days until this day to be here. I mean, I don't know, do you get as excited as I do on Christmas Eve than you actually do Christmas Day?
Yes, do you not see how excited I am that we are here and we are able to share Christmas again with our Off the Cuff family? I love it.
And we have never been in studio on the Christmas Eve holiday, on the actual day, but we are today. So it feels different here in the studio. It feels very Christmassy, and something special about this day anyway. I've told you last week on the show that God, not really last week, a couple weeks on the show, that God blessed Christmas music. He blessed this day too. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day is such a joyous feeling.
See, I'm a healthcare worker by trade, so this is not a new feeling for me working on the holidays. So you're just making this feel like normal life for me. So thank you, Banks, for making 2020 a little normal.
Well, do you have any Christmas traditions that you do, or what were some of your Christmas traditions growing up?
Oh my goodness, yes. So the one that I have maintained throughout all the years, and I think it's the best one, and it's going to be the only one I'm going to talk about, is I will be watching for the rest of the day A Christmas Story. I will watch it as it plays today and tomorrow, and I will love every minute of it.
So growing up, I didn't really do a lot of special Christmas traditions. A lot of my traditions were very basic. Getting together with family, having a meal, watching movies, exchanging gifts. That was some of my Christmas traditions. And I hear about some people who have these traditions, and I'm like, that is so cool. I wish that my family maybe would have created a unique tradition that they've carried on every year, like some families do. For instance, some families go to the movies, and they actually go to the theater and watch a movie every Christmas. And a lot of families do that. And
I like that.
It used to be one of the biggest movie days of the entire year, December 25th for theaters. Now, you can't say that this year because theaters are sadly shut down. But yeah, people would go on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and watch movies at the theater. And I thought that was pretty cool. So things like that. But I don't know. Other than exchanging gifts and eating and watching movies, that was pretty much my Christmas traditions. But those of you guys who are out there sitting today, this morning, or this afternoon rather, on Christmas Eve, and you're trying to think of new Christmas traditions, I've got some ideas to throw at you that maybe you and your family can start doing.
Okay, you know I love it when you give out the ideas.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Christmas trees and putting up real ones versus fake ones. Well, if you're somebody who enjoys lights, maybe go watch a tree lighting, because tree lightings with your family can be very family oriented. It can bring the family together. Now, here in Lexington, we don't have a big a tree as the Rockefeller Center does, but Lexington has a pretty good sized tree that you can go watch be lit. And I think they light it a couple weeks before Christmas. It's already been done, but I think that's a really cool thing. And I don't know, do they light it on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day too, or is that something that's weeks before?
I'm not for sure. I mean, sincerely, I've never been to a tree lighting. I used to watch the one at the Rockefeller Center because I always thought that was kind of cool. But I've never sincerely been to one, so I would love to go to one.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it would be pretty cool. You could also participate in a toy drive. You could donate your toys or your kids' toys other children. You could go out and buy some new toys with your own money and just give away to a toy drive. To me, there is nothing more special than giving on Christmas. I would rather give than receive. I love giving people gifts on Christmas because you get to watch the reaction and you get to feel some type of way because you're like, yes, I did that. I scored with a good gift. And it's the same way with these toy drives. Watching the I don't know how I want to say this.
The innocence, the innocent smile.
But the kids who have a lot of misfortune where they don't get to have their families on Christmas and get a whole bunch of presents under the tree. And since I'm on that, Christmas trees and the Christmas packages under the tree, I love that. But sometimes people can get a little ridiculous with how many packages are under their tree. And it makes me wonder if these are real boxes that people put under their tree or if they're fake boxes that people wrap just to put on that illusion that they have bought a lot of gifts. But I don't think that's the case. I actually think people go out and buy these ridiculous amounts of gifts just to post it on social media to show the world, hey, look how good I'm doing this year. Look how much I've bought my family and look how many presents I've bought this year. I think it's so commercialized.
I have to agree with you. I mean, I know that we have both seen social media be blown up in the past with pictures of outrageous amounts of presents under trees. I will say that that's, something I've not seen as much this year. I'm thinking maybe people are starting to understand that, today's a good day of celebration of, being with our small, intimate families. And I just wish that this wasn't something that happened because we didn't do stuff like that when we was growing up, did we?
Well, no, and you see people, and that was the lack of social media too, but you see people posting pictures of presents stacked from the floor to the wall, and it looks ridiculous. It looks like a Walmart toy department store, and it's like you're buying presents for a 6-month-old baby who ain't even going to know what you got it, so it makes no sense what you're doing.
So, like, on average, and I'm not saying, like, hey, tell me how many presents you used to get, but, I can think about Christmases, and I say 5 was a good amount of toys. How many toys did you get growing up?
5 or 6.
Okay, and I bet at least 2 of them was clothes, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Okay. You got one big gift.
Yes.
One big old gift, and that was it.
Yeah, and then you got a little small ones. It's like a meal. You get one big piece of food, and then you get little sides. That's how it was growing up. It's so commercialized now, and I blame our generation. It's people our age that are parents now that are doing this.
People that was in them Sears catalogs like me, circling all that stuff they wanted. Now they're just buying it.
You don't have to get everything your child wants for Christmas.
No.
Life's hard sometimes. Tell your kid to get a helmet because sometimes they're not going to get everything that they want and desire in life, and it's sometimes okay to introduce them to. That's a good way to introduce them to disappointment. Hey, sorry, your toy wasn't available this year. Maybe next year.
And what I don't get is, you remember when we used to get little gifts from school, like our elementary school would give us those little brown lunch bags, and all it had in it was nuts and some fruit. Do you not remember how awesome that was? Because somebody had put together these nuts and this fruit for you, and you'd eat it on the way home.
Yep.
That was one of the best gifts I used to get. I just want to know why that's still not a thing anymore. I mean, I understand for 2020, we've got COVID. I completely understand, but I hope that's a tradition we can bring back, is those little brown sacks, giving them to kids.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much to impress kids. I'm telling you, kids don't worry about what's inside the box. They are more infatuated with the box itself, with the wrapping paper and the bow and just the mystique of what is inside this gift. That excitement, that buildup is part of the gift, not the actual gift. Because once they rip open the gift and they already get it, that excitement dies because you already know what you got.
Yeah.
So you are not going to give a kid, you could give a kid just as much joy getting them a $3-4 gift than you can a $400 gift, because the kid likes the build up, the excitement, the mystique of not knowing what's inside the gift. So you're only hurting yourself and making yourself look like a fool on Christmas when you post pictures with 100 gifts stacked from the floor to the ceiling.
I've got a picture, and I'll try to make sure I send it to you. One year I got probably, I can't even begin to tell you, stacks. You're talking about stacks to the top of the ceiling. I got stacks of Barbie stuff from my mother one year, and it was cool. I like Barbie, don't get me wrong, but my papa got me a $5 pack of Hot Wheels cars at the Dollar General, and I remember when I unwrapped that present, I kept that present for about 5 years because I used to play with them. You think I had any of them Barbies after that day I opened it? No, I didn't want them. That $5 pack of Hot Wheels cars was the best gift I ever got.
Mm-hmm. So some other traditions that you could do, you could go ice skating outdoors. If you're trying to break your neck, that would probably be a good tradition to pick up. Do they do that here in Lexington, ice skating?
Yes.
That's amazing. I think that's such a pretty picture.
I think that you should go, and we should see you out on the ice.
You could attend a church or Christmas play as a tradition. I always enjoyed that because the true meaning of Christmas is celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and church plays put on really good illustrations to get that point across to people. And I love a good Christmas play. Were you ever in a Christmas play growing up?
It's hilarious that you bring this up. So, guys, Merry Christmas from me to you guys. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that Off the Cuff shares a picture of Adam Banks in elementary school dressed up like Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks during a Christmas play that we were both in grade school. And I remember you practicing for this particular play. I don't know if you remember it as well as I do, but I remember you guys up on the little stage. Y'all were up there just practicing and practicing. It was great. I do remember that. I do remember the school plays. I don't really remember my characters and all of the school plays that I participated in, but I enjoyed it. I mean, at school, during December was the best time when you were in grade school, middle school, because you didn't do nothing but practice for your Christmas play. Practice for your Christmas play, eat lots of candy. I just always remember there being candy around Christmas. And remember, we always just went to the gym. Now, it was to practice for the play, but we didn't always practice. You could have a secret Santa exchange. My family kind of picked that tradition up. They call it the Chinese gift exchange. They don't really call it the Secret Santa. But the Secret Santa is something that a lot of people have picked up, and that is when you draw somebody's name and you don't tell who you drew. You don't tell nobody who you drew, and you go out and buy them a gift. And on Christmas, everybody reveals whose name they got by giving them a gift. But I have seen some disastrous Secret Santas before, because at work, we used to do this Secret Santa, and I remember there was this person who would always go out and participate in Secret Santa and not really buy an appropriate gift, because usually they set a limit when they do the Secret Santa, $15. And if they do set a limit, 10, 15, $20, and I think in our case it was I think it was more of an expensive Secret Santa. It was $20. Oh, goodness. Yeah. And if you don't have $20 and you don't plan on going out and buying a $20 gift, I'm not saying you have to pay $20 for it, but if you don't buy a $20 gift, you do not need to participate in Secret Santa if that is the minimum, because everybody else is going out and buying a $20 gift. That means you need to get a $20 gift because you're going to be receiving a $20 gift, and it's not fair for the person's name that you drew to receive something under $20. And I see that happen all the time. I know this guy. He would enter the $20 minimum Secret Santa, and he would go out and buy a really cheap, I can't remember exactly what it was he bought, but it was something that cost maybe $3 or $4. And everybody else had really nice gifts, and the person that got this person's name had a $4 gift. And it was like, no, you can't. If you're going to do Secret Santa and it's not a requirement and you choose to do it, make sure you have enough money to participate in it, because it's not fair for everyone else. Well, and it's not always about the money. Sometimes you draw a coworker's name that you just don't like, and I've been a victim of that. I drew somebody's name one year, and I was just like, buddy, I don't like him, and I ain't getting him anything that's thoughtful. And I had a gift card laying around my home. I was moving at the time, and I was like, you know what? It's $10 limit. Here's a $10 gift card. And that's exactly what that person got. I just did not, I did not think it entirely through. So if you can't pay to play, don't play. But B, if you're going to foul everybody out because you don't like half of them, maybe don't play either.
Exactly. Only play. It's not really required. Only play unless you want to dive in and go all in. Get into the spirit. Be thoughtful. Put thought into it. Put effort into it. Put money into it. Otherwise, just don't play. And I've learned this, too, about Christmas gifts. And we were talking about this a little earlier in the show about going out and spending a bunch of money. People don't remember what you got them even a week or two after Christmas.
No.
So people worry about all of these gifts that they want to get for their family, and they spend all this time, all this money on getting a gift, and then that person they got the gift for don't really remember what you got them. I mean, do you remember what your aunt got you 3 years ago?
Nothing. My family ain't bought me nothing in about 15 years, buddy. Let's get the facts straight.
I'm sure your mom has bought you something.
That my mother actually has not bought me a Christmas gift, I'm going to say, since I was probably about a freshman in high school.
How does she get away with that, though? Not buying you a gift.
I remember, look, Christmas wasn't something we celebrated at my house, but I remember one year very, very, very vividly. I was in the 4th grade. We were in the 4th grade. She handed me $100 and told me to go in Walmart and buy whatever I wanted and just put it under the tree. And I couldn't have it till Christmas. And I was like, this ain't fair. Like, that's literally how I started out thinking about life. I was like, this ain't fair and this ain't right.
Yeah.
So
sorry that you had to deal with that. I'm sure there's other people that have had to deal with.
I know there is. I know there is.
Parents who didn't really go all in on Christmas, and it only hurts the kids when they do that. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to take a quick break. We have I have more traditions to give out. I'll give them out as the show progresses, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these words. Stick with us.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, riding down Santa Claus Lane. Blitzen, blitzen, all here's a reindeer pulling on a rein.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. Amber is also joining me. It is Christmas Eve. This is Off the Cuff's Christmas Eve Special here in 2020. This is also the big night for Santa Claus. This is the night where Santa Claus travels across the entire world and drops off his gifts to all those hopeful children out there. Christmas Eve, you're supposed to be in bed by 12 because that's when, or supposed to be in bed before 12 because Santa shows up at midnight. And apparently Santa is this omnipotent being that can be in more than one place at once. So that's why he can pretty much drop off everybody's gifts at the same time at midnight. But we have been reading letters to Santa here on the show throughout the last couple of weeks here on Off the Cuff, and I'm kind of sad, Amber, because today is the last day that we get to read our letters to Santa. I've thoroughly enjoyed them.
No, I guess it really is. It's the last day for him because Santa Claus comes tonight.
He does. Did you at least get to practice the whole Santa Claus tradition growing up?
A few times with my grandmother, I actually did. So yeah, I did get to do that.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, let's go. I've only got one letter to read on this Christmas Eve. Dear Santa, my name is Elowen Jade Branham, and I'm almost 8 months old. My mom and dad say I'm the best girl around, so I really hope you'll visit my house this year. If I get to see you, I promise not to pull on your beard like I pull on my dad's. For Christmas, I would really like some toys to help me learn and to explore more. I love it when my parents and grandparents read to me, so new books for me to touch and feel would be great. I love Minnie Mouse, Blue's Clues, and Cocoa Melon, too. Bath time is my favorite, so some bath toys would be really fun as well. I can't wait for my first Christmas, Santa Claus. I know you'll make it extra special. Love, Elwyn. P.S. I have a big furry brother named Byron. He has been a very good doggy this year. I hope you'll bring him some bones, chew toys, and treats also. Well, Merry Christmas there, Elwyn, and getting your Christmas list into Santa the morning before he leaves.
Just skating in, just in time.
You're skating in. But that wraps up our letters to Santa. I've thoroughly enjoyed them. I'm sure Amber has as well.
Of course. I wish there was a reason that we could have. I just think that kids say the darndest things sometimes, and I just wish there was a reason that we could have children write us little letters maybe every month or so. Maybe update us.
Kids really do say the darndest things, and we have been hearing some of the funniest things from these letters because you never know what you're going to get, and I don't like reading these letters until I sit down live on the radio, so I don't pre-read these letters, and I really do get a chuckle when I'm reading through these because kids, they don't know no price tag. They just really tell you what they want.
Yes, what they want.
But this is Santa Claus's big night, and this is the night that Santa Claus is dropping all those toys off. In the United States, Santa Claus is depicted as flying from home to home on Christmas Eve to deliver toys. He flies on his magic sleigh led by his reindeer. Amber, can you name the 8 reindeer?
Yes, let's see. There's Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, Rudolph.
Well, Rudolph was the 9th one.
Well, whatever.
There is Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. And the most famous reindeer of all was Rudolph. But Santa enters through each home through the chimney, which is why empty Christmas stockings, once empty socks, now often are hanging on the fireplace. And they call Santa Claus many different names. Good old St. Nick, St. Nicholas, Santa Claus. There's many things that he's known for. But did you ever hang stockings? Was that a tradition that you did growing up? Because it was for me. My dad was a really big stocking hanger. He loved to hang stockings. He loved to fill the stockings on Christmas morning. And I always thought that was pretty cool.
I love that because my dad also was really to get into the stocking. So now I'm curious, what did your dad used to put in your stocking?
My dad never failed. He always put me a DVD in my stocking.
Okay, so there's 1 for 1 that we had exactly the same. What's something else?
Candy.
Okay, 2 for 2. What's something else?
Usually the gift itself was the candy, was the DVD, and the candy was just the filler. But that's really it.
Oh, man, my dad would sometimes, hide money all the way in the little pointy toe part.
Oh, yeah?
And I remember I asked him one time, I'm like, Dad, why do you put it all the way down there? And he was like, well, I'm kind of hoping that you won't, get all the way down in there and I can take it back. But it was a nice thought.
It is. But I think that stockings is just a pretty cool tradition that people do. I think that Dad still does the stocking tradition because Dad was born in 1963. So when Dad was growing up, used to, in Dad's era of growing up during Christmas, what you got in your stocking used to be all you got for Christmas. That was your gifts, was what was in your stocking, and that's what it was prior to all of this junk that you have today with everybody getting 10,000 gifts. It was what you had in your stocking. Now, I'm sure the stocking gifts were a little bit more on the up and up than what they are now, because usually stocking stuffers are just little fillers. But that's where that came from.
Okay.
People his age growing up, that they got their gifts in stockings. So he has just carried that tradition throughout his life and taught it to me.
I like that. Now, I hang stockings every year, but I never put anything in them. So maybe I still got some time. I can maybe throw a few things in mine before Santa Claus gets here. Yeah,
and this is the night that Santa Claus shows up. Everybody is anticipating on their Santa Claus gift because everybody, the adults and the kids, usually get that one big gift, and that's the gift from Santa Claus.
Oh, yes, and mine is under my tree, and I'm going to tear into it first thing in the morning.
Yes, and I knew this woman, and she is related to me, sort of. I believe she is related to me. She's my mama's sister, so that would make her my what? If she's my grandmother's
great aunt?
She's my great aunt. And her name is Alice, and Alice is obsessed with Santa Claus. She has Santa Claus all over her house. She's been featured on the news. She, I think, has over 1,200, 1,300 Santa Clauses in her house and around her house.
Wow.
And it's a big to-do every year. She's got people that go to her house just to look at it from all over the area. And I like to go over to her house on Christmas Eve every year anyway, because that's a part of my family, and she takes me a walk through her house, and she shows me every room. And
so every single room is decorated
in Santa Claus.
That's amazing.
She completely redecorates her entire home interior for Santa Claus. That means all the pictures are replaced with Santa Clauses.
Wow.
The toilet paper is replaced with Santa Clauses. The trash bins are replaced with Santa Clauses. The towels hanging up are Santa Clauses. Everything you see is a Santa Claus.
Wow.
Everything. And it is something to see. It is a sight to see.
You know who would enjoy that?
Who's that?
A good friend of the Off the Cuff family, Mick Foley. Is he or is he not obsessed with Santa Claus as well?
I guess he is a lovable, jolly character. He's this big old fat dude with a red face.
I think he actually decorates, doesn't he, Mick Foley?
No, I'm talking about Santa Claus is just such an easy person to love. Yeah, but Mick Foley, he does. He's just somebody who is also obsessed with Santa Claus. But Santa's just such an easy character to love is what I was trying to say.
Yes, but I don't know if I'd want to have multiple pictures of this old man staring at me. That's what always used to get me, was I was like, Santa Claus looks like this old dude that used to creep me out over in Hyman at the pharmacy. So I don't know if I can handle him staring at me every day.
So the story of Santa Claus, it dates back to the 1800s. And there is a whole history on Santa Claus. But the whole reason why we have this "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" tradition was because of a poem that was written by a man named Clement Clark Moore. And he wrote a poem in 1822, and it was called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And it was because of what was in that poem is the reason we still do the Santa Claus tradition today. He is responsible for the modern image of Santa Claus that we have. The right jolly old elf that's beside him, Mrs. Claus, that is all a part of that "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" poem. He talks about Santa flying across the world in a sleigh led by his reindeers, going through chimneys, being full of jolly and being a big fat jolly man. That's all from the poem, and it later got transferred into a cartoon in 1881 by a man named Thomas Nast. He drew the first image of Santa Claus based off that poem. So that's how we have the Santa Claus image that we have today.
Wow. I would love to know who he had in mind when he was kind of building this character.
Right, because everybody has somebody in mind when they're drawing something. Everybody gets inspiration from somewhere.
I would love to know who his inspiration was.
But Santa Claus is on his way. He's probably getting everything in his sleigh right now. I could only imagine how busy the North Pole is at this time. But it is Christmas Eve, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Off the Cuff's Christmas Eve Special. So we're going to take Off the Cuff's Song of the Week, and I wouldn't have it any other way than a Christian Christmas song. We're going to have Hark the Herald Angels Sing by Miss Carrie Underwood. We'll be right back after the song. Enjoy. There's plenty of places that you can try to attempt to speak to Santa Claus before Christmas, and one of those places is the mall. Did you ever, as a kid, Amber, go to the mall and sit on Santa's lap?
Not as a kid, but if you remember in 2017, I tried to go to the mall and sit beside Santa and let my dog sit in his lap, and that was disastrous.
Because they barked and went ballistic.
literally anybody who knows Piddle, who is my female older corgi, she loves everybody she encounters. Adam might be her most favorite person in the world. She was literally snarling and growling and biting at this man. And if you take a look at the picture we took, you can very clearly see that Piddle is doing some major side eye. So I envision that's what I would have been like as a child.
You have to think, though, how much of a sight to see Santa Claus is.
Yes.
That's pretty scary. He's a lot to see all at once. So there is a reason why kids and animals freak out when they see the big, jolly Santa Claus. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we got lots more Off the Cuff coming at you live after these words. Stick with us.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glowed.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. Amber is also joining me. This is Off the Cuff's Christmas Eve Special. Merry Christmas Eve to everyone. The most famous reindeer of all, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This is a song that I think that everybody knows the words to. Whether you're 5 years old, 50 years old, you know this song. And this song tells a story of the famous reindeer, the most famous reindeer that Santa Claus has. It's Rudolph. And Amber, when you were trying to list off the reindeer's names, Rudolph is obviously one you would say because it's the most popular. But isn't it something how this story of Rudolph became popular all because of just a song?
Well, I think it was kind of one of those things that it like gave the underdog, just a chance to step up. Everybody picked on him, and he won in the end.
The story of Rudolph comes from the mind of Robert May, and he was a copywriter at a department store. And he wrote a Christmas-themed story poem to help bring holiday traffic into his store. Using a similar rhyme pattern to 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, Robert May told the story of Rudolph, a young reindeer who was teased by the other deer because of his large glowing red nose. But when Christmas Eve turned foggy and Santa worried that he wouldn't be able to deliver his gifts at night, the former outcast saved Christmas by leading the sleigh by the light of his red nose. And Rudolph's message, given the opportunity, a liability can be turned into an asset, proved popular. So he used this just as a way to bring in traffic to his store, and now look, it's become an iconic Christmas story.
I wonder how that made him feel. He was probably like, man, I just sat down and wrote a story about a reindeer, and now it's blowing up everywhere.
He's got to feel some type of way about it.
Oh, yeah.
But Amber, back to those Christmas traditions that we started talking about at the beginning of the show. We were going over just a couple. We talked about tree lighting. We talked about a toy drive. We talked about attending a Christmas play, having a secret Santa. Some more Christmas traditions that you and your family could start doing is you could do the elf on a shelf, which my mom started doing this tradition last year for my niece. My mom has a granddaughter. She wanted to be really interactive on Christmas with her granddaughter, so she thought that this would be a good way for them to start their own Christmas tradition. So at Mama's house, my niece now has Elf on the Shelf to look forward to.
Now, look, I enjoy seeing all the pictures that, people have posted, especially this year. I think people have gotten really inventive this year. But, no, that is definitely not a tradition we'll pick up here in the Turner household. No elf on a shelf in this house, baby.
I do enjoy the pictures, seeing where the elf ends up at the end of each day.
Yes, and there are a lot of coronavirus related elf on the shelves, and I'm seeing people make little gloves to go on these elves' hands, and I'm like, y'all are wild. Y'all are wilding out.
That's fantastic. And they have masks on the elves too, don't they?
Yes, they do. They do.
You could make a gingerbread house.
I think that's something that we should do. Have you ever done that before?
I've not.
Well, I've tried it a few times. It's a disaster, but I think it could be a good disaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think that people, regardless of your age, is going to like that because kids love it, adults love it because you get to play, you get to build things.
Yes.
And who didn't like doing that growing up and still to this day don't like building things and being creative? It's arts and crafts.
Well, look, on the 26th, so in 2 days when everything goes on sale, I'll go grab us one, and we'll do it before New Year's Eve. It'll still count.
Well, you know how I feel about Christmas being over at midnight on December 25th, so maybe next year. But let's put that on the list that we can do next year.
Well, they're too expensive if I got to buy them when they're full price, man. I need to pay 75% off for that thing.
Okay, well, in that case, I feel you. Maybe that can be a new after Christmas tradition we do.
Yeah, because, last year, guys, Banks immediately texted me at 12:01 and said, you need to take your Christmas stuff down. So he is being very sincere when he says that at 12:01 on the 26th, he's done with Christmas. So I only have 2 days left to enjoy.
Because it's a special time, and we have to keep it special by minimizing the time we celebrate it, and that's the day after Thanksgiving until December 26th. But another tradition that you can do, or maybe a tradition that you already do, is dress up. And I hate that people don't really dress up for Christmas anymore. Used to, families would get together and they would dress to the nines. They would wear their best and exchange their gifts and get together. But you don't see that a lot now. You see people wearing their jogging pants and their hoodies, or Bubby and Sissy's oversized sweatshirt, or their moo-moo. You see all those things. What happened to the Christmas sweaters?
Hey, we're decked out in our Christmas gear. I don't think this applies to us.
No.
You and I have always been very festive when it comes to Christmas. So,
but don't you love it when you have that family member who you look over and he's very festive looking, or she's very festive looking? They've got the sweater on. It makes you feel some type of way. It makes you enjoy the day more.
I want to be that family member.
I do
want
too.
To be that one that's a little bit been nipping a little too much before they came in on the eggnog, and I want to have glowing earrings and necklaces. I'm working on it.
Yes, I think that people gravitate towards you too when you're like that on Christmas. So dressing up, I can get behind that. Another tradition is putting up a mistletoe. That is a tradition that I never did understand. I don't understand how we decided to throw in a very sexual tradition in on Christmas, but apparently if you stand under a mistletoe, you are required to kiss that person that you're standing under the mistletoe with. Have you ever been a victim of having to kiss somebody under the mistletoe?
I'm going to be real frank about this. You catch me under the mistletoe and you try to kiss me, you're going to catch my hands. Don't kiss me under anything, period, especially mistletoe, because I think it is absolutely the worst thing in the world. It used to be very beautiful, and now we have sexualized it, and whoever done that, shame on you. Shame on you for making unwanted passes at people become a part of a Christmas tradition.
Right. It is an unwanted pass. It's very outdated, and it can be funny when applied correctly. And what I mean by that is you're totally against the
like, you know what, if me and Ralph, my dog, happen to find ourselves under the mistletoe, you know what, I'll give him a big old kiss right on his nose. But anybody else, no, it's not appropriate.
And finally, the last tradition that I'll throw out there is you and your family or friends can take a Christmas vacation. I can get behind this too. Taking a Christmas vacation. I know a lot of families who do that. They take a Christmas vacation through the holidays, which means they don't actually have Christmas at their house. Now, maybe that should be every now and then when you don't actually have Christmas at your house. But I could get down with taking a Christmas vacation and doing some type of holiday vacation with my family, and hope to God it's like the Griswolds, because that's so funny. But getting out of here for the holidays, it has to be somewhat chill, relaxing. You're away from the madness, and
I'm sure it is.
You get to create memories with your family on a vacation. I could get down with that.
Yeah, but we ain't got Christmas vacation money. Have you seen some of the prices that like these resorts are charging like during the Christmas? Because this is a common thought that people have. I want to skeet out of here and go down to the Bahamas. You know, granted, we can't do that this year, but oh my gosh, if you look at some of those resorts, they take advantage of that, of people wanting to get away from the cold. So Banks, we don't have Christmas vacation money right now. Maybe when Off the Cuff gets big, we'll take us a big off the cuff Christmas vacation.
All right, well, we talked about Christmas movies last year on the show very briefly. We talked about Christmas movies that really wasn't Christmas themed. Christmas movies like Die Hard, or what's another Christmas movie that's not really Christmas themed? There's Batman. They throw that one in there. But you know what I mean. Movies that really don't have a Christmas plot, but they still consider them Christmas movies because they're set around Christmas. We talked about that a year ago, but we never really talked about true Christmas movies and our favorite Christmas movies. And that's what I want to talk about now. My favorite Christmas movie, hands down, and it might be one of my favorite movies, Home Alone.
Yes.
Home Alone 2 is the best one. And then Home Alone 1, the original, has to go as my number 2 favorite Christmas movie. But I'm a big Home Alone fan, Amber. I think it's the greatest Christmas movie. I can't wait to watch it every single year. And I only watch that movie around Christmas because I've seen it so much, but it's one of my favorites.
I have to agree, other than the ordering. Now, granted, I love Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, but there is something about Kevin McAllister standing up on top of the landing, screaming at his family that are downstairs eating pizza, being jolly. When I grow up and get married, I'm living alone.
Well, did you get to watch the movies that made us on Netflix?
Yes, I did, actually. That was a good series.
And they featured the Home Alone movie, and you learned a lot of cool, interesting facts from that movie. One of them being that the movie originally got scrapped because the studio didn't like it. They thought it was not going to be a successful movie. My, oh my, how wrong were they? And then you got the fact that the actual house in the movie that everybody loves so much, that's actually not a house. I'm talking about the interior of the house. That's not a house. That was built in a high school gymnasium.
And I think like a shut down high school gymnasium, wouldn't it?
Yes, it was the same high school gymnasium that they filmed Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Uncle Buck.
Okay.
Another fact that you learned about Home Alone was that Joe Pesci could barely get through the script without swearing. Because you got to think.
I feel him.
You got to think, here's a guy who did movies like Goodfellas and Casino before he did Home Alone.
Yeah. I think that's what seriously made his character so lovable, was that we knew him from those other things. So to see him trying to like interact with an 8-year-old Kevin McAllister, that's what made it good. And
Amber, you can't really hear the music that I'm playing in the background because of you being at home, but I'm playing Home Alone music.
Okay.
This music is by John Williams. He is a composer. He's one of the most famous movie composers in the world. You might have heard a few movie theme musics he's done. He's done movies like Jaws. He's done movies like Star Wars. And he's also done Home Alone. And it actually started off as a joke to get him, because Christopher Columbus was like, wouldn't it be great to have John Williams do our music? Well, John Williams loved the script of Home Alone so much, he said, absolutely, I'll do this movie.
That's awesome.
How iconic is the Home Alone music?
I think that entire soundtrack of all the little, with him running, that intro theme, it's great.
And yeah, and then you also have the last fact being John Candy, who was a big star around that time, who just done Uncle Buck. He was only paid a couple $100s to do the film. As a matter of fact, he was paid less than the pizza boy.
Oh, for like when I'm talking the 12 pizzas?
Yep.
Okay.
But love Home Alone. Some of my other favorite Christmas movies other than Home Alone, I am a big fan of The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Okay, good.
I love that one. I am a big fan of Miracle on 34th Street.
Okay.
I'm talking about the newer one, the one with Matilda, the little girl Matilda.
I literally was going to try to think of her name, but I'm just going to go with Matilda because I know what you're talking about.
A big fan of The Grinch with Jim Carrey.
Yep.
Love that one. Hilarious. I don't know if I like the cartoon better or if I like the movie better. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the cartoon, but that's what I grew up on, and that's, how nostalgia always beats everything else.
I know. The cartoon is absolutely my favorite, so that one gets my pick.
But looking back at all of the Christmas movies that I've watched throughout my years, I don't really watch a lot because I find one that I like and I stick to it and I watch it every year. I'm not a person who watches Christmas movie after Christmas movie after Christmas movie. I pick one and stick with it.
Well, now look, I'm not watching none of this nonsense they've been putting out recently. Everybody this year jumped on the bandwagon of doing Christmas movies, and let's just say that ain't none of them like Jingle All the Way. You remember that one with Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger? That was a great one. Why can't we bring things like that back? Why we got things like the holiday? I don't care who you dating on the holidays.
I know.
Show me videos of people fighting over this one specific doll. That's what I'm here for.
Exactly. And I don't know if these, you got to think though, these movies that are being released today, 20, 30, 40 years from now are going to be classics, and it's going to be new generations that are saying, man, I wish they'd play Four Christmases.
Oh, you hush that nastiness. 40 years from now, people are still going to be saying, could somebody turn on the Grinch or could somebody turn on A Christmas Story? That's what's going to happen. None of this nonsense is going to make it out of 2020.
Yeah, I mean, we do see the movies that have stood the test of time. Home Alone, Christmas Story, The Grinch, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. All those have really stood the test of time. So really quick, Amber, what are some of your favorite Christmas movies?
Oh, goodness. Jingle All the Way, Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, Nightmare Before Christmas, A Christmas Story. Let's see. The cartoon of, it wasn't Frosty the Snowman, but it was like the little clay animations. I can't think of the name of it. But those are my favorites.
Yes, with the...
Do you remember that one I'm talking about?
I do totally remember the one.
It's where Mr. Freeze came from in the Batman movie.
ABC Family always had that 25 days till Christmas, and that's where they played that cartoonish looking stuff. I forgot about that. I loved the 25 Days of Christmas put on by ABC Family. They really did put out some banger Christmas movies.
Yes, they did.
But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take a quick break. We got one more segment to go here on Off the Cuff. We'll be right back after these words.
Laid down his sweet head.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. Amber is also joining me. Last segment of the hour. It is Christmas Eve, and we are having our Christmas Eve special here at the Off the Cuff Studios. Merry Christmas from Amber and I. We hope that you have a very Merry Christmas. Those who are sitting at home with their families right now, maybe opening gifts, maybe having a feast, we appreciate you having us on your radio. We've talked a lot about Christmas music, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus. We've read letters to Santa. We've had a jolly old time here on the show. We've had musical guests playing Christmas music. We've had many different topics talking about Christmas. And now, today, it's our last show before we say goodbye to Christmas for another year, Amber.
I'm not excited about it, but you know what? That does mean that we're one step closer to 2021. So I guess let's get this holiday over with and move forward.
And speaking of that, let me just quickly say, I'm glad you brought that up. Next week is going to be New Year's Eve, the last day of 2020. And guess what? Amber and I will be in studio to do a New Year's Eve special. So we will be in studio next week live doing a New Year's Eve special. Saying goodbye to 2020.
Banks is making me work on another holiday.
I know. Thanksgiving, Christmas.
This is 3 in a row, man. I didn't even get that, even like at least in healthcare, you get that one on, one off, one on, one off. Man, you hit me with the trifecta 3 in a row.
She gets paid very well to do this, so she needs to quit complaining. But in all honesty and seriousness, folks, it is Christmas time, and the reason for the season is Jesus Christ. We've talked about a lot of things Christmassy, but let's not forget the real reason why we're here. We're here to celebrate the birth of Jesus. And I would like, here at Off the Cuff, to play an audio clip that really puts into a nutshell the story of Mary and Joseph, the Christmas story. And this is an audio piece that lasts about 5 minutes, and it tells the reason for the season. Enjoy.
In the beginning, before God created the universe and everything in it, His salvation plan was for Jesus to come to the earth. God selected a very special people to be part of Jesus' family. Mary, Jesus' mother, and Joseph, Mary's husband, were part of this special family. It was a family that could be traced back to the great King David, whom God had promised an eternal kingdom, and then to Abraham, through whom God has promised to bless the entire world. But before Mary and Joseph got married, God came to her and shared some astonishing news. God had chosen Mary to be Jesus' mother. God told Mary that she would become pregnant by the power of the Holy Spirit. When Joseph found out, he was hurt and confused. He didn't understand how Mary could be with child unless she had been unfaithful to him. Heartbroken, Joseph considered breaking his engagement to Mary and quietly ending their relationship. Before Joseph could go through with his plans, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream. The angel told Joseph that the child Mary was carrying was from the Holy Spirit, and there was no reason Joseph shouldn't marry her. Joseph was amazed and overjoyed by this incredible news. The angel told Joseph that the baby boy would fulfill God's promise to send his people a Savior, and the baby should be named Jesus. Mary's baby was the Messiah. The Romans, who were in control of Israel at the time, ordered that everyone under their rule be counted. This meant that Joseph and a very pregnant Mary had to take a long and difficult journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem. The weary couple arrived to find the city overflowing with people who had all traveled to be counted. This presented a big problem for them because Mary was ready to give birth. With the inn full of travelers, Mary and Joseph took shelter in the only place still available, a stable. Next to horses and sheep, the Savior of the world was born. Angels sang, and nearby shepherds came to worship the newborn King. On the night Jesus was born, a star shone brightly in the night sky over the stable where Jesus was born. It attracted the attention of a group of wise men called the Magi. The Magi, in wonder of this beautiful sight, followed the star in search of Jesus. When they arrived in Jerusalem, they asked King Herod where they could find the child who was born King of the Jews. Evil King Herod, angry at the idea that someone was trying to take away his power, asked the wise men to continue their search and to let him know where the child could be found so he could worship him. But worship wasn't King Herod's plan. King Herod was plotting to kill Jesus. The Magi followed the star until they reached the town of Bethlehem. Their long and difficult journey came to an end when the star stopped over the place where they found Mary and Joseph caring for the baby Jesus. The wise men bowed down and worshipped Jesus. Despite the humble surroundings, the wise men knew they were in the presence of holiness. They didn't need to find the baby in a palace to know that it was right to give Jesus gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which were the types of gifts given to kings. In a dream, God warned the Magi and Mary and Joseph of King Herod's plan to kill Jesus. To help keep Jesus safe, the wise men began their long trip home in a different direction than they came, so they wouldn't run into King Herod. Mary and Joseph scooped up Jesus and escaped to Egypt. They stayed in Egypt until an angel of the Lord appeared in one of Joseph's dreams to tell him that King Herod had died and that it was finally safe for them to return home to Israel. Some years later in Israel, Jesus began his ministry, performing miracles, healing people, and ultimately sacrificing himself to save us from our sins.
And there you go, folks. That is the Mary and Joseph Christmas story. And if you want more information on that, you can pick up your Bible and turn to Luke chapter 2 to read that story. But I thought that was just something very important for us here at Off the Cuff to just reiterate the true meaning of Christmas. But ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up for the Christmas Eve special. You can listen to all of our previous episodes of Off the Cuff by going to our podcast at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. We are on podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever podcasts can be found. You can follow Amber on all social media platforms at Ambu447. You can follow me, the host, on all social media platforms at The Adam Banks. You can follow Off the Cuff on Facebook and Instagram at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. You can download the Radio Lex app on your smartphone device to listen to new episodes of Off the Cuff every Thursday from 4 to 5, because that's when we release them. But that wraps it up for this week's episode of Off the Cuff. Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. Have a great Christmas tomorrow.
Merry Christmas, Adam.
Merry Christmas, Amber. That is Amber Turner. I'm Adam Banks, and this is Off the Cuff. We'll see you next week.
Of your